What do you do when your battle chooses you? What do you do when something shows up on your doorstep that you did not directly cause, choose, or definitely anticipate?
Life is not always easy. In fact, some of you today, you're here and you're going through the toughest season of your life. There will be seasons where we will suffer. There will be seasons of real pain. And the question is, how will you respond in those moments?
Life is hard sometimes. Easy, it's not an option. But it's worth fighting. It's worth believing. It's worth giving yourself a chance. It's worth mustering yourself up, standing up inside yourself. It's worth fighting relentlessly, never giving up. It's worth it. You can do it. You can do it.
There's problems that we go through that cause stress, worry, anxiety, and fear, but you might be in the battle of your life. I want to encourage you. It's not about what's happening around you. It's always about what's happening inside of you.
Where focus goes, energy flows. If you want to improve, if you want to reach all the goals you've told yourself you'd like to achieve, you got to start eliminating all the things that don't support the direction you're trying to go.
The path to greatness demands an unyielding focus and discipline. It's about daring to push beyond your limits, fighting relentlessly for your dreams. Your legacy is shaped by the intensity of your desire and the consistency of your focus.
This isn't about idly waiting for the perfect moment or for things to fall into place. It's about waking up each day with the determination to dominate that day more than any other. Drill into your mind that you're in control and you're the one who will make things happen.
Be unapologetically savage about your dreams. If something or someone doesn't contribute to your growth or add value to your journey, consider it dead weight and let it go. This includes negative people, bad habits, and time-wasting activities. Remember, you don't have time for anything that doesn't help you grow and achieve your goals.
When you're great, you don't just focus on the year. You don't just focus on the month. You don't just focus on a week. You focus intensely on the 24 hours in front of you and work as hard as possible to nail it.
When you give up, your mind thinks it's over, so it stops growing. There's no development when you give up, but when you can say, screw this is awful, I'm overwhelmed, I'm in pain, I'm struggling, I'm hurting, but decide not to leave, your mind gets the message. It realizes he's sticking around, so we need to adapt. We need to improve. That's when different parts of your brain kick into gear. You start using parts of your mind you never used before, especially when you're struggling and you refuse to quit.
You have to direct your brain and tell it where you want to go and how you plan to get there. I've learned that if I keep pushing, keep returning to the challenge, your mind understands, all right, we got to work this out because he is not giving up.
Something in your brain and body has to keep track of that. Did you win? Did you lose? What's a letdown? One of the most important findings in the last few years, the molecule dopamine is associated with reward. It's more about motivation and craving. That's really the key. When I say the common currency is dopamine, what I mean is the molecule dopamine, when secreted in the brain, makes us pursue things, build things, create things, makes us want new things that we don't currently already have. It's more accurate really to think about dopamine as driving motivation and craving to go seek reward. And it's a way of tabulating where we are in our life. Are we doing well or are we doing poorly? And that happens on very short time scales. Like, do you wake up feeling good? Or do you wake up feeling kind of low? Or on long time scales. If you're halfway through a long degree or you're halfway through your life, how are you doing? How do you gauge that? Well, it has everything to do with how much dopamine you were releasing in the previous days and weeks and years. So you're always comparing it, and all of this is subconscious. But what's cool is that once you make these processes conscious, then you can actually work with it. And this is really the new evolution of the understanding of dopamine in neuroscience, which is that dopamine itself is not the reward. It's the build-up to the reward. if you want to have repeated wins, okay? The celebration has to be less than the pursuit. And that's hard for some people to do. If you can start to identify the craving as its own internally released drug, this thing dopamine, that is a source of motivation, then what you realize is that capturing the reward is wonderful, but attaching dopamine to the reward is actually a little bit dangerous. Celebrating the win more than the pursuit, it actually sets you up for failure in the future.
What is dopamine? What does it do? And how does it work?
Dopamine is released from neurons. It's what we call a neuromodulator. It changes the activity of the circuits in the brain such that certain circuits are more active than others. Dopamine creates a heightened state of focus. It tends to contract our visual world, and it tends to make us pay attention to things that are outside and beyond the confines of our skin. Dopamine also tends to put us in a state of motivation and wanting things outside the confines of our skin. When it's released in our brain, tends to turn on areas of our brain that narrow our visual focus and our auditory focus. So it creates a cone of auditory attention that's very narrow. It creates a tunnel of visual attention that's very narrow. Whereas when we have less dopamine, we tend to view the entire world. We tend to see the whole scene that we are in. We tend to hear everything all at once.
Dopamine is the reward and motivational system in the human nervous system. Dopamine gets released when there's a pleasurable anticipation of some reward. So that could be eating a piece of chocolate, a good movie, all of those different things. The problem and the challenge, if you are just getting dopamine at the reward, is that it actually makes the activities leading up to that reward much more difficult and feel much harder, and they feel like they actually takes longer because of the way the human mind slices time. The way around this and the way to better leverage the dopamine system in today's age is to choose to love the activity itself and release dopamine into effort itself.
All right, here's the first and most important step that I need you to understand. Your food is your mood, but not only what you consume physically, also in your ears, your eyes, and your nose. Let me explain. So you're already a conscious human being. You understand that eating burgers, pizza, fries, all those things are not going to be good for you. They're not going to help you in your business. They're not going to help you in creating the body and dream physique that you want. And most importantly, they're not going to help you get these mansions and supercars. But what people overlook the most is what they consume in their ears and their eyes as well. Ask yourself truly, go through your playlist on your YouTube Music or Spotify, whatever it might be. Why are you listening to music talking about guns, killing, and robbery, but yet expecting a beautiful, grand life? You're putting bullshit into your factory and expecting it to produce something beautiful. It's just not gonna happen. Same with those freaky deaky ass videos that you be watching. You are ruining your dopamine receptors because you are now consuming something that should have taken you a lot of work to see, but instead you're seeing it by click of a button just searching on the Google tab. So that rap music, those freaky deaky videos, they have to go. Listen, I know it's gonna be hard. It's gonna be literally a challenge. It's gonna be like a dopamine detox, but you have to do it to unplug from that world. Trust me. Step number 2, have your day planned before you even start it.
Most important thing you can do is plan your day, preferably the night before. Sit down with a piece of paper and write down everything that you have to do the coming day. It should be the last thing you do at the end of the day. Now, if for any reason you don't do this, then the first thing you do in the morning, before you check your email, your phone calls, newspapers, first thing you do in the morning is make a list of everything that you have to do that day. Once you have a list, you have a track to run on.
If you fail to plan, you plan to fail.
Step number 3 is your relationships are your destiny.
Most of your friends are not really your friends. They're just along for the ride when it's fun, when it's convenient, when you're winning, when it's valuable to be there. And they're gone when it's none of those things. And the real people in your life are the people who are there when it's none of those things. When you have nothing to offer them in return, and they're still there showing up right next to you. And those are your darkest hour friends. And those may be gonna be 5 of those people in your life, maybe 10 if you're really, really lucky. And your entire goal in life should be to cherish those people and make sure that you are that person to someone else.
If you have people in your life who are occupying your time for their self-benefit, you should erase them from your life.
Step number 4. Join a community with like-minded people, but also people that you're in competition with. Competition is good. For example, my community, there's almost 300 people in there right now, and every single one of them is competing against each other to see who can be a better marketer, because at the end of the day, whoever can produce more in the marketplace is gonna make a lot more money from their phone and computer. What a luxury. But if no one was competing with each other and everyone was like, oh, okay, you got this, you'll be able to do it, and everyone's just like cheesy and corny with each other, you're not really gonna have that competitive edge and that fire inside you.
Get around the good community, get around people that want better, in their life, and, your environment is stronger than your willpower. If you've got a good environment around you, you will have your ups and downs, you'll be driven one day, not the next, but if you've got that group of people that are like, come on, let's do this, let's go, and they're all driving on a mission of their own, there's nothing more powerful than surrounding yourself with a strong environment.
Step number 5, which I believe is the last one that you truly need. If you master this, you'll be set for life. And it is a multitude of things, but I put them all into the last step just for the sake of this video. The first one is that you're gonna have to get really good at marketing, branding, and sales. And I put those in those order because of this. The reason why I put marketing as number 1, it is because marketing is the ability to get customers to your business, to your website, to your personal brand, whatever it might be. Just having that ability is everything. And second is branding. Once you get those people to your website, personal brand, or whatever it might be, you better have a presentation so damn well that it's gonna make them want to buy from you. And the reason why sales is number 3 is because once you do have them ready to buy, you better know how to close that deal. Those 3 skills, I swear to God, if you just learn those, everything else will fall into place.
In order to build a successful business, you need to get good at sales, marketing, and you need to get good at brand building. I believe that selling is uncovering the value you have so well that people are happy to exchange the money they have in their pocket for the value you've revealed. And when they value your transformation, the transformation of your product, your service, your opportunity, when they value that more than they value the money, then the money is easy to pay the money. Marketing is the art and science of discovering and developing in other people a desire for more and more of your product, your service, or your opportunity. Art is the feeling, the science is the measurability of it. What is brand building? When you build a brand is a name that reminds you of a story. A premium brand is a name that reminds you of a story that you'd be willing to pay a lot of money to see yourself in. You want to see yourself in that story. Why? Because you know if you're in that story, it'll elevate your brand, your name equity.